Hello, welcome to Time for Healing. I'm your host, Marion Porter of Star Winds. Today, my guest, Judith Dreyer, is going to tell us all about the Dreamtime. Yes, Judith Dreyer, you're here, finally.
Marion, I'm delighted to be here. And the Dreamtime is one of my favorite passions and topics.
Oh, well, let's jump right in. What is the Dreamtime?
Well, that's a good question. I like to explain the Dreamtime from the Aboriginal sense, not the Western sense. We think of dreams as our nighttime wanderings, our nighttime visions. But for me, the Dreamtime is, yes, includes the nighttime dreams, but it's also our daydreams. It's also our intuitive ability, our intuitive knowing. It's the visions we might see in our meditations.
Wow.
It's all about us and how we are responding to the world.
So it's not just laying down and sleeping dreams.
No, that's a great part of it. And that's a great resource that we have that our culture has not taught us how to utilize.
What could we utilize out of our sleeping dreams?
Well, think about it this way. We have physical eyes that see the outside world, correct? Mm-hmm. But when we close our eyes, we actually have an inner vision, correct?
Like our imagination?
Exactly.
Like playing with imaginary friends and when you're a kid and just thinking up stuff?
Yes, and the imagination is the tool of our Holy Spirit, our divine essence.
What?
So nighttime dreams or daydreams, our imagination, all has clues for perhaps what's going on in our life. Now, most people think of the Dreamtime as the nighttime dreams.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to start, to understanding the Dreamtime.
So you said the Holy Spirit is part of dreams?
Oh, it's my feeling and the research that I've done, and I've been doing a dream journal for myself for over 30 years. I've been working at this diligently, but that's the way the divine can reach us as well, is through our dream time. Now, we have prayer, we have meditation, and we can access our divine essence that way too. But in the dream time, we actually have a chance to connect to our soul. That divine spark within us that can guide us in very wholesome, beautiful ways. But there's a catch.
What's the catch?
It's symbolic. The language of the dream time is symbolic. And so we have to spend some diligent effort to understanding our own symbols, what they mean for us, and use that as our stepping stone into understanding the gifts in the dream.
Wow. Listen, this is the first time I've ever heard that, like, the divine communicates to us through dreams. I've never heard that before. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think our Western society is actually behind in terms of our own development as a human being, because we do not learn about dreams. We are not taught about the dream time. And yet it's this huge, incredible resource we all have access to every day of our lives, and it's free of charge, and it's within us.
So how do we learn to utilize it?
Well, there's a couple of places where we can begin. First of all, our intuition, our gut feeling, is a radar between us and the outside world. So most people understand that, right? You have a gut feeling about something, or something reminds you of Uncle Joe, you pick up the phone and call him, and you're both on the same wavelength. So we kind of accept those kinds of occurrences in our daily life. We have a little harder time with the daydreams. We now have a lot of yoga centers and meditation centers, so people are learning through guided imagery to start trusting what they might see with their inner eye or feel with their inner senses doing those modalities. And then we get into the nighttime dream, and I'm used to hearing people say, well, they're weird. They're weird. What could they be all about? They're too weird. And actually, they're symbolic, so they're going to appear weird if we don't understand the symbols.
Wow. So I guess I've always been looking at, like, my nighttime dreams kind of cinematically, but really it's all symbols?
They are symbolic. Yes, we can get hit over the head with a pretty clear dream. I've had those experiences. But for the most part, they're symbolic. And sometimes, and I want to say this, not every nighttime dream needs to be analyzed or interpreted, because our heart picks up far more than our mental mind does. We know the energy field of the heart is far greater than the mind's energy field. So at night, it's almost like a computer, and we sort of delete files. And so we can kind of see them in our nighttime awarenesses and wonder about it when we wake up, but some of those just need to be deleted, and that's okay. But we have other times where we can actually get the feeling and the sense that there's something going on here, and maybe I need to pay attention. But we're not taught how to look at that. We're not taught how to figure that out, because our Western society is very scientific. It's very factual, and the dreams aren't.
Wow, that's an amazing statement there. All of that you've just said. That's so. Let's go back. So when you said it's like downloading files, so maybe sometimes, like if you had a really stressful day or something, you're just maybe decompressing and going through some of the stuff that happened, and it just shows up in a dream?
I feel that's true. I trained myself when I first made the commitment to study dreams, because I've been a dreamer since I remember dreams since I'm 5 years old. And for me, it was always a quest. It was a passion. What are these things called dreams? And I noticed that when my friends and I would talk about our nighttime dreams in conversation over a couple of days, my dreams came in more. I was able to remember them better. And so that intrigued me. So one book led to the next book, led to the next book, but I started dream journals and I started tracking my own dreams. And I started to realize that, as you said, some of the dreams were simply maybe flushing through the day, kind of confirmation in some ways of the day, but nothing really earth-shattering or what I felt was meaningful at the time. And then I had dreams that were like incredible. They got my attention, they caught me, and I started to work with them. And I worked with them from all kinds of aspects. Some were warning dreams that I paid attention to.
Wow. So dreams just aren't like this random thing that happens.
I don't believe they're random at all. I believe they're a part of our essence, and we have a divine connection that tries to give us a helping hand.
How do we encourage that helping hand to just work more in our lives? Like how can I learn to learn anything about my dreams? I mean, well, I think about it. I don't even remember any of my dreams. I don't even know if I do dream.
Well, you do dream. Everybody dreams. It's just that some people are more apt to remember them than others. And some of the studies in the sleep clinics show us that deeply analytical people who are very cut and dried tend to dream less than the artist, the creative type. And that's very well documented in the dream research.
Although, I was an only child, so I developed an imagination very early. I can, like, if you just give me a few clues of whatever, I can in my mind see a whole entire movie of anything. Like actually, I'm kind of doing it right now while I'm talking to you. So it's kind of, I guess a lot of times, when you're growing up, you hear, it's too much. You got all these daydreams, whatever. It's almost like it's not encouraged in children.
It's not. It's not in our society encouraged at all. I came across through Anne Faraday's work and Patricia Garfield. They were like my mentors, even though I got the knowledge through their writing about the Sonoy that lived in Malaysia. I believe that those communities are completely broken up now because of the excessive farming that's been done to the island of Malaysia. But anyway, the country. But the point is, the early psychologists of the 30s and 40s that went into that land, the country of Malaysia, found out about this group of people that lived in harmony, and they had no crime, and they lived peacefully. And they found out that one of the threads, the main thread of their community was honoring their dreams, their nighttime dreams.
Wow.
So, for example, if I was in that community and I dreamt of a tiger, in the morning my community group, my family, would ask if anybody else had that same knowing during the nighttime. And somebody might say, oh, I caught the tiger tail over by this tree, and I heard it. Somebody else might say, yes, I heard the sound in this area, and they combined their resources and realized it was in one neck of the woods, and so they would avoid it because, tigers are known to be something you have to be mindful of in a forest in that neck of the woods. So they would get a dream about where to plant their next crop or where to put their next home, but they also worked out individual relationship issues in their dream time, so they didn't play it out in their waking state.
How could you do that? I mean,
if I had a dream, let's just say Mr. X over here was my boss, and I had a dream that he was really a jerk. And I would have the responsibility when I woke up in this community to talk to him about being a jerk, because if I didn't, he wouldn't have a chance to grow. He wouldn't have a chance to change. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, my head's spinning now. Wow. So if, just say you and I had some sort of an issue, would we just look at each other and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to sleep and we'll fight about this in my dream and you do the same and we'll talk in the morning? I mean, is that how that works?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. What I liked about the Sonoy is that they worked with their children from the time they could talk. So by the time their children were teenagers, they already dealt with their boogeymen and their monsters and their whatever frightened them in the dream time. In our culture, our kids don't have any guidance on that level. I was fortunate enough to be doing this when my children were young, and I could work with them, and I could use some of the tools that I learned from the Sonoy that these writers shared with the Western world, and it actually made a little bit of a difference. You could see them, when you face a fear in the dream, you wake up differently. You wake up with a different sense of confidence because you were able to tackle this in the dream time. And in the dream time, the rules are different. You can call in anybody. So for a child, like my son, I would say to him, whatever his stuffed animals' names were, I said, you can call all of them in there. You can call mommy and daddy in there with you. You can call your best buddy at school in there. Because in the dream, the rules are different. You can call anybody you want. And he actually did that with one dream. And he woke up and he said, Mom, I did it. I was able to get through. Black dogs were chasing him, and he says, I got on a horse and I called up so-and-so and I was able to ride through the forest. And you could feel when he woke up his sense of accomplishment and wonder at what he had done in the nighttime dream. And as you can imagine, that feeling stayed with him in the waking state.
Amazing. So there's tools that...
There are tools.
Oh, let's talk about the tools.
Well, the tools are, they take a little bit of practice.
Okay.
First of all, when I started working with the dreams, I kept a journal by my bedside. So the tools are very important. I said to my being, I am committed to learning about dreams. Please show me the way. So I set my intention, number one. Number two, I set up the tools to follow through on my intention. Because you can't fool your subconscious. You can't say, oh, I want to remember my dreams, but then don't do anything about it. You have to make some effort. So I said, okay, I will make the effort to write my dream down when I wake up, whatever I wake up to get it down. So I made that commitment. So that's number three. And so then number four was that day or the next, I didn't let it go too far. I would write out my dream. Sometimes I would title it, and then I would write my reactions to what I felt in the dream and what some of the symbols started to mean to me at that time. I happened to learn colors from my native elders, which might be different from somebody who's an art therapist, for example, or somebody who's working specifically with chakras. So you have to go where you're at in the moment to understand what's going on at that time.
So I'm thinking, I mean, I know we discussed earlier about like a daydream dream, but I have one of like the running topics in my dreams, my sleeping dreams, is me just being in rooms with people talking. All the time. Sometimes walking down hallways and being, you go over into this room with these people, and a friend of mine is going off into another room. This is like a repeating theme in a lot of my dreams.
Well, let's do the little lightning dream technique. I learned this from Robert Moss. He did shamanic dreaming, and it's a very quick thing that we can do today.
Oh, cool.
So the first thing I want you to do is give your dream a title.
Being in rooms.
Okay. How do you feel when you wake up from these dreams?
Almost like I've been to school, kinda.
So it's like you feel like you're in school?
Like now, or in my dream? In my dream, it feels like I'm in school.
You feel like you're in school?
Yeah.
And is that a positive or negative feeling?
It's positive. In fact, one of the more interesting one of these dreams is I'm finally in a room with someone else, and he's kind of asking me to produce certain documents. So I opened up a briefcase and I have documents, all the documents that he wants to see. But I have no idea what these documents say. I just know that I have them. And I guess that would be, I don't know what that would be like. But
So the next question I have for you is a reality check, because we always, always, always check with our dream first to warn us. Is it warning us about something in our waking state? So the question I have for you is, what about the dream relates to your waking state or not? Do you know the building? Do you know the gentleman? Do you know the briefcase? Have you seen these rooms?
Yeah. Is there anything like in this reality
Yes.
that translates to that? It feels like schoolrooms. I have a sense that it might not be, but when I'm in these dreams, they're very familiar. The people that I'm talking to seem very familiar. Everything seems very familiar when I'm in these dreams.
But have you seen them in the waking state?
No.
Okay, so what would you like to know from these dreams?
Why do I have these recurring dreams,
Well, the next question is really a game that we play. It's called If It Were My Dream Game. What that means is I'm going to give you what it means for me.
Okay.
And you can take and pick and choose whatever you want.
Cool.
But I'm going to use very specific language because I want to keep the energy of the dream with you as the dreamer. I do not want to project or impose my feelings onto your dream. So I'm going to say to you, if it were my dream, it would mean this to me.
Okay.
I'm not going to say to you, well, I think you should go down the street and check with your local board of education, or check with your Uncle Joe, or, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, if it were my dream, it means this to me. So the first thing I notice is I'm in a place of familiarity. So I'm going to sit with that. Number 2, I like schools. I like the rooms. I like the idea of learning. I love meeting people. I like a show like this where I get to interact people. I get the feeling that I'm directing people into this room or that room. To me, the doorways or openings into perhaps areas of knowledge, if it's a school. For me, it would be maybe this is the room of philosophy, or this is the room of Reiki, or this is the room of shamanic work, or this is the room of history. But for some reason, I'm in a position to do this. When it comes to the briefcase and documents, that tells me that I'm doing something on a level that has some kind of accreditation. And then the man that's there for me, I would wonder if he's not a guide.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, if it were my dream, I would say the same thing, Yeah, that everything you've just said completely resonates.
So the final piece is what are you going to do to honor the dream? Because we get into this space with our meditation work right now in our culture of seeing beautiful things, and we get beautiful messages. But part of my message to people is we want to ground it in this reality. So it could be anything. We don't want it to be really broad. We want something that hit you from this dream that you could take action on or bring into your everyday life.
Well, you know, I mean, maybe that I've got a little bit more confidence than I think I have. Maybe I know more than I give myself credit for, something like that.
It could be anything. That's a great place to start because it's your dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so some examples of what people might do to bring an action into it. I worked with somebody in an office I was in several years ago, and she had a dream. She shared the dream, and her message was, because it reminded her of her son, she decided to write him a very kind of motherly letter about, I just want to connect with you. How are you doing? I'm fine. Because she had the feeling it had something to do with his girlfriend, but she couldn't approach him directly. That was the message she got from the dream. So she did it indirectly by writing him this letter. 2 to 3 weeks later, he calls her up and said, "Mom, I loved your letter. And you know, I decided to let go of this relationship."
Oh.
So she had really good confirmation based on the action that she took. I write in my journal. I may go look something up. I may come back. I pay attention. You know, if I have a dream that involves other people and it's positive, or I feel there's a concern, I will call them up and I'll say, you know, I had a dream and I had this feeling about it. What do you think? And I'll put it in their court to see if it resonates with them or not. And 9 times out of 10, they'll go, "Oh yeah, I was thinking about that." Or, "Oh yeah, there is something going on. Thanks for calling me." And I give them a chance to talk about it. And so that, to me, is a positive way of handling a dream that might have an uncomfortable energy for somebody in my tribe.
You know, I'm just curious, what about people who have nightmares? Like really scary dreams?
Well, nightmares are night horses.
Wait. Oh, look at you.
They're night
I see
horses.
what you did there.
Yes, nightmares are night horses. And what my elders would tell me is that, and what the Sonoy teach, is that a frightening dream is frightening to get our attention. And there's actually an incredible gift in that dream if we learn how to work with it.
Really?
Yes. And that's what I teach in my classes.
Well, we have just 5 minutes, so could we talk a little bit about nightmares?
Well, what the Sonoy would teach their children is, when you have something that frightens you in a dream, is to realize you're in a dream and the rules are different. And that takes practice. That doesn't happen just the first time you think about it, because we're not taught any of this in our society. But if you can get to the place of facing the fear in your dream, you can go up to it and say, "How come you're frightening me?"
But how do you get to that? Because you're dreaming, you're
practice.
knocked out.
It's practice.
But that doesn't wake you up by trying to
Not
do
necessarily, no. No, we can actually have awareness that we're dreaming in the dream as we know we're asleep.
that? Come on.
Yes, and that takes practice.
So what about the, now I want to get everything in and the time's running. What about the dreams where you're just getting to the good part and you wake up? What about that?
Only you can answer that. I don't know why. I don't know why that happens. Everybody's different, and that's the value of a dream journal. Because the more you start writing out your dreams and acknowledging your dream power, give it a name. Call it Harry. Call it Dear God. Call it Saint Teresa. It doesn't matter, but give it some kind of acknowledgement. And write in your dream, "Thank you. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. What's your guidance? How can you help me?" And then be open to paying attention.
So I should try to start talking in my dreams?
Why not?
Wow. I don't know how to do that. Just start doing it.
It's just a matter of awareness. In older traditions, they might say during the day when you're awake, look at your hand and say, "I'm dreaming." And practice that during the day so that when the nighttime dream comes, if you have that glimmer of you're in a dream, even though you know you're asleep, you can look at your hand and say, "I'm dreaming. I know I'm dreaming." And it's so exciting.
Oh, I'm going to do that
It's so
tonight.
exciting.
So even if, what about people who are insomnia and can't sleep?
Well, insomnia is a whole nother issue, because insomnia means we're not getting into any stages of sleep and we're not going into deep REM sleep where the dreams occur, and that can lead to health issues. So that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh dear. Oh, that's a whole nother show.
Yes.
Wow. So we've got like 2 minutes. What's one last thing you want to get out to our viewers that maybe we haven't touched on?
I would like our viewers to know that their dreams are not weird, that their dreams are important. Whether it's a dream of the heart, a daydream, or a night dream, they're all valuable and important to us as an individual. And it's time for us to start working with them, because we can create solutions from our dreams that might really help the world where we're at today. And I want to see more entrepreneurs fulfilling their dreams, creating a solution for this, that, or the other thing. I want children to not be afraid of their dreams, but to feel empowered by them, so that by the time they're a teenager, they're working with their dreams, they're working with their guidance, they're on fire to help this world, because we're all here to make a difference, you know?
That's amazing. And we can literally dream a new world.
Yes.
And we can do it whether we're asleep or whether we're in our imagination.
Yes, and on a practical level, we can get very good guidance about whether we should stay in this job or go to the next job. We can get practical guidance for relationships. Am I really hiding a feeling about somebody that I don't want to face, but I can see it in the dream? But unless we start working with symbols, it's harder to uncover what that means.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being on my show. I don't know about all y'all out there, but I cannot wait to go to bed and dream. And I may do that right after I leave. So thank you again, Judith Dreyer, talking about the Dreamtime. This was an epic show. Another one of those shows that I wish I had 3 more hours for. But thank you for watching Time for Healing. We'll see you next time for another great show. All right now.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.